Are you concerned that your trustee is doing a poor job investing trust assets? Is your trustee failing to discuss the trust's finances with you or find out what your financial goals are? Well, let's talk about what to do. By the end of this video, you will know, first, what your trustee must do when investing trust assets. Second, how trust assets should be invested when the trust calls for an outright distribution, and how trust assets should be invested when those assets are held in the trust for years. California law says, a trustee shall invest and manage trust assets as a prudent investor would, by considering the purposes, terms, distribution requirements, and other circumstances of the trust. In satisfying this standard, the trustee shall exercise reasonable care, skill, and caution. This is referred to as the prudent investor rule. It requires a trustee to invest trust assets in a way that's appropriate for the trust beneficiaries. It prohibits the trustee from investing trust assets using their own standard. If the trust calls for outright distribution of trust assets, then you should expect that the trustee is not going to have to engage in very much investment management. The trustee should be preserving assets. The trustee may need to sell some assets to generate cash, either to deal with expenses and liabilities of the trust or to equalize distributions among the beneficiaries. But as far as engaging in any sort of sophisticated asset management, that should be unnecessary when there's an outright distribution. If the trust requires retention of trust assets for an extended period of time, let's talk about years, then you can expect that there's going to be a greater degree of investment management over the trust assets. The trustee will need to consider the current age of the beneficiary, the holding period, and the purpose of the trust. Will the trust have to pay for school, medical care, or the purchase of a home during the holding period? Is there an outright distribution at the end of the holding period? How much risk is the trust beneficiary willing to take, and why? All of these factors have to be considered by the trustee under the prudent investor rule, and there's a strong likelihood that the trustee will need outside professional management in order to help them meet the standards of the prudent investor rule. The prudent investor rule is particularly important where trust assets are held in the trust for an extended period of time. Now, I've just discussed how that can happen because of the terms of the trust. But the other important way this happens is where a trustee has failed to be diligent in managing the trust. So usually this happens where the trust calls for an outright distribution, but instead of that happening, a trustee holds onto assets for years and years and years. When that happens, there's a very significant chance that they have breached their fiduciary duty under the prudent investor rule. If this is your situation, then feel free to contact us. If you're not yet ready, then take a look at our trust litigation playlist, which will give you plenty of information about the entire trust litigation process, including what damages may be available to you. If you found this video helpful, then please hit the subscribe bell, leave us a comment. We'll be glad to respond if you do, and give us a thumbs up.